Good day, everyone. It's Assistant Professor Dipak Shivdas Wakde from Comrade Godavari Shamrao Purvodekar, College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Talasari. I am here to present a paper entitled Miserable Plight and Predicaments of the Internally Displaced People, Tribal People. And here is my abstract. From abstract, it is clearly pointed out that migration and displacement of tribals have been happening for centuries and it continues even today. Our government system has been the main reason behind forcing the tribals to wander from door to door after capturing their forests, lands, villages, resources, etc. They have been evicted not only from their forest, resources, or villages, but also from values, moral concepts, lifestyles, languages, and culture. According to our fundamental principles, everyone has an equal right to development. But in the first 5 years after independence, about 25% of the 2.5 lakh tribal people were forcibly displaced. In the name of development, lakhs of people had to lose their livelihood, business, and land. They also did not get the basic rights that they were related to their land. The attitude of the government and the people of the so called mainstream society towards the tribals has never been satisfactory. The attempt by the government to rehabilitate the tribals also could not be fully fruitful. Ultimately, the lives of the tribals separated from their own lands and resources reached a state of death. Even after reaching the 21st century, the tribal society of our country is waiting for development. On the other hand, due to the indifferent policies of the government, their position remains the same. This research paper focusing on the problems of migration and displacement of tribals being cheated in the name of development raises many questions in front of society and the government. Now, let's start with what is displacement. The very definition of the displacement is it is the process of relocating a person from the right to use the available territorial resources and leaving the place of residence. It denies individual of kinds of revenue, land, and propels them to surrender home privileges and their social relations. In the event that because of normal or human activity, a local area needs to leave its place, its site of experiences, its way of life, then at that point, the method involved with leaving that spot is uprooting. Removal from the restoration job is generally crooked, an issue that is currently being raised through the development, for which the undertaking casualties forfeited their own assets, town, public activity, and so on. Now we will focus on tribal displacement. It is essential to take note that the greater part of the displacement are situated in the most in reverse scheduled areas of different tribal networks. As the woods and bumpy lots, which are the conventional environments of them supplied with rich minerals, assets and deserted verdure. In India alone, somewhere in the range of 1951 and 1990, around 21.3 million people were uprooted by advancement projects. Among this number, 8.54 million means almost 40% were tribal or native individuals, and just 2.12 million means 24.8% were resettled. This is the report of Government of India published in 2002, page number 458. As per the most recent gauges, the absolute number of individuals dislodged during the most recent 60 years has arrived at very nearly 60 million. These are the gatherings that have customarily relied upon the normal property asset essentially on forest land for their endurance. There are an enormous number of tribals and other woods inhabitants who go under the timberland regulations that don't give any right of possession to the cultivators even after a few ages of inhabitants and development. Relocation of these individuals implies aggravation of their lifestyle, which naturally prompts the annihilation of their social, strict, and monetary practices. The uprooting of individuals from customary residence is displacement. Now we will discuss here few acts and their role in displacement. First act is Permanent Settlement Act. The estrangement of land was one of the primary reasons for the numerous ancestral uprisings all around the country. In 1793, the British passed the Permanent Settlement Act to get however much income from land as could reasonably be expected. This act, normally in Bengal, Awadh and Madras administrations, gave zamindars outright legitimacy right ashore. There were brokers made to gather income from their particular regions. Consequently, water, land, and timberlands, until now considered being local areas claimed normal assets, became the private property of individual proprietors. The new landed class was normally content with these new plans since it empowered them to lay out recorded freedoms over land. Such a long way, there was no responsibility for land except for just the right of income assortment. Since land proprietorship was viewed as private, the state could gather income from these grounds, yet it couldn't assume control over the land as and when it wanted. The another draconian act passed in 1894 was Land Acquisition Act. There was an expanding need for land for rail lines, streets, other government projects for timberland produce to help British ventures. It was to lay out privileges over the responsibility for that the British made the Land Acquisition Act 1894. This act worked with the British control by annihilating neighborhood individuals' freedom over the country's normal assets. The Draconian Act of 1894 went on till as of late as 1984, when scarcely any corrections were made. And here is my conclusion. To conclude, I will say dislodging is a penance for the public interest, yet it is obvious from the format of insightful dissenters that restoration and resettlement have not been as expected executed in a large number of the undertakings that have been uprooted across India. As improvement through advancement projects, it is unfavorable to the interest of the minority and the larger part to show this individual's development, which is essential for the common society approach to accomplish civil rights and the freedom and privileges of citizenship, and the embraced social and manageable turn of events. In such a mass development, ladies, white workers, tribals, Dalits, in reverse classes, migrants, and disorderly area laborers have taken part. Individuals' development, while introducing its jobs in regard to improvement, says development should happen without dislodging and displacement. Besides, it should be comprehensive, economical, and even handed. Here are my references. Thank you all.